When the factory closed in the small town of Millhaven, it felt as though the lights went out all at once. Paychecks stopped, storefronts emptied. Neighbors who had once waved from tidy porches now kept their curtains drawn. At night, the only place still glowing was the old sign of buzzing faintly above a locked gate. Elena Morales stood outside those gates one evening, her 8-year-old son Mateo's hand tucked into hers. She had worked there for 11 years, long enough to measure time in the growth of her child and the steady rhythm of shifts. Now she measured time in overdue bills and careful portions of rice. Being a single parent had already taught Elena how to stretch things: dollars, patience, hope. But she hadn't expected to stretch courage, too. The first week after the closure, she noticed something she couldn't ignore. At the grocery store, a man who had once supervised her quietly put back a loaf of bread. A neighbor watered down milk to make it last. At Mateo's school, the teacher mentioned more children coming in without breakfast. One night, as rain tapped against their kitchen window, Mateo asked, "Mom, why does everyone look so sad?" Elena looked at the nearly empty cupboard. "Because sometimes," she said carefully, "people forget how strong they are." The next morning, she decided not to forget. Elena didn't have savings. She didn't have connections. What she had was a folding table, a borrowed card table from her neighbor Mrs. Green, and a church parking lot that sat mostly empty during the week. She called the pastor and explained her idea: a small food pantry, nothing fancy. Just a place where anyone could take what they needed, no questions asked. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Then the pastor said, "When do you want to start?" The first day, Elena placed 3 cans of beans, 2 bags of rice, and a box of cereal on the folding table. She made a handwritten sign: "Take what you need, leave what you can." She expected embarrassment. She expected whispers. What she didn't expect was Mrs. Green arriving with a sack of potatoes, or the high school basketball team bringing canned soup collected from their neighbors, or the former supervisor, the one who put back the bread quietly, setting down jars of peanut butter and meeting her eyes with gratitude instead of shame. By the end of the week, the folding table had grown into 2 long banquet tables. By the end of the month, shelves lined the church's fellowship hall. Elena still worried every night. She still counted coins, but something had shifted. The pantry wasn't just about food anymore. It was about dignity. It was about neighbors looking at one another and saying, "We are still here." Mateo started helping after school, organizing cans by labels he carefully read aloud. "Mom," he said one afternoon, holding up a bag of rice, "we're kind of like superheroes." Elena laughed. "How's that? We don't have capes," he said thoughtfully. "But we help people anyway." Word spread beyond Millhaven. A regional farm began donating surplus produce. A retired carpenter built sturdy wooden shelves. Volunteers painted the fellowship hall bright yellow, the color of sunflowers that used to grow along the factory fence. 6 months after the factory closed, the old buzzing sign finally went dark for good. But by then, another light had taken its place. On a crisp autumn evening, Elena stood in the doorway of the pantry, now officially named the Open Table. Families moved in and out, some giving, some receiving, many doing both. Laughter echoed where silence had once settled. Elena realized something profound. Hard times had stripped away the illusion of independence, but they had revealed something stronger: interdependence. She hadn't set out to become a leader. She had only wanted to make sure her son and every child like him went to bed with a full stomach and a little less fear. But in choosing to act when she felt least powerful, she had reminded an entire town of its strength. And as Mateo slipped his hand into hers again, just as he had outside those factory gates months before, Elena understood the truth. Even in the hardest seasons, one steady light is enough to help others find their way. Sometimes that light is a single parent, sometimes it's a folding table, and sometimes it's simply the decision to begin.